In honor of India becoming the fourth country to ever achieve soft landing on the surface of the moon, which was the closest lunar landing to the South Pole ever, here are some of my favorite early Indian astronomers. We start with a text from the Vedic era called the Vedanga Jyotisha, which is usually attributed to an author named Laggada. It's dated to around the 1400s BCE, but it is a culmination of the millennium of astronomical studies that had come before that. This is usually considered one of the earliest surviving attempts to combine astrology with mathematical astronomy. Next, we have Aryabhata, who was one of the powerhouses of Indian mathematics and astronomy. He suggested that the Earth rotated on its axis and made a very accurate early prediction of the Earth's circumference. Next up is an absolute intellectual juggernaut by the name of Brahmagupta, one of my historical heroes. While we can infer through the works of scholars that came before him that the idea of zero as a number and not just a lack of number had already been floating around, the concept of modern zero can be traced through Al-Khwarizmi's writings directly to this man. He was also one of the first to ever conceptualize gravity, giving it a name and defining it as anything with mass is drawn towards the Earth. This is just the tip of the iceberg. The guy's incredible. Also around the 500s was Vihara Mihira, who probably wrote the most cohesive work on astronomy, astrology, and mathematics at the time. He drew from Egypt, Greece, Rome, East Asia, you name it, which made his works very useful to the Islamic scholars who came a few centuries later, like Al-Biruni and Khwarizmi. You got Bhaskara I, who made a lot of corrections to Aryabhata's work, planetary positions, longitudinal information. Not to be confused with Bhaskara II, no relation, from like 500 years later, who, among other things, had a great proof of the Pythagorean theorem. He was contemporary with the Islamic Golden Age. From the 700s, we have the great Lala, who, among other things, wrote a treatise on what he considered the 12 most essential astronomical instruments. I couldn't find a good picture of the 12 yantras, but here's a sampling. From the 1300s, I'm choosing Parameshvara Nambudiri. He was a really big proponent of observational astronomy, which wasn't always the case. Some people thought you should be able to figure out with like idealized math. But with that approach in mind, he developed a new type of Drigh system, which was an easier, more efficient way to calculate the mean positions of planets for scientists and authors of almanacs, things like that. From the 1400s, Nilakantha Somayaji, who helped accurately revise the orbits of Mercury and Venus, which is like a classic historical astronomical problem. He also came up with a very similar heliocentric model to Tycho Brahe, despite the fact that Brahe was born 1 year after Somayaji died. And finally, jumping back a bit, Madhavan, who talked a lot about infinities, which is one of my favorite mathematical subjects, but he also founded the Kerala School of Mathematics and Astronomy. A lot of famous mathematicians, astronomers, and polymaths came out of that school, and there's a growing body of evidence that, in addition to Arab, Persian, etc. mathematics from around the world, the Kerala School of Astronomy and Mathematics likely affected European scholars much more than was previously thought. Again, congratulations to the Indian Space Research Organization on this historic achievement, which will certainly only continue to add to your long legacy of contributions to mathematics, astronomy, and science.